I am excited to announce my new podcast, Giving Legends. It's an opportunity for me, Hannibal Navies, and my co-host Charlie Batch to talk with people of influence who are committed to building a legacy through service. Stay tuned and learn what makes them giving legends.
What's going on? This is Charlie Batch, joined by my co-host, Mr. Hannibal Navies.
What's going on, people?
And welcome to another edition of the Giving Legends podcast. This edition is actually presented by Zoa Energy, which is powered by great taste, electrolytes, B and C vitamins, zero sugar and caffeine from green tea and green coffee. It's available on Amazon and at any store near you, like 7-Eleven, Costco, and more. For more info, go to zoaenergy.com. That's ZOAenergy.com. So joining us today, we have Mr. Dhani Jones. Welcome to the show, brother.
You know what happens when when you call somebody Mr., that means that like they're older. So it's deference, you know what I mean? So I appreciate it, you know.
I think it comes
calling me like my guy, Dahani.
No, here's why I
that's
say.
when we're young, you know.
No, here's why I say that, right?
Dhani Jones.
Here's why I say it,
got
Mr.
a whole
Jones.
resume and everything. I got a couple pieces of paper.
No, I hit him with the Mr.
Hit me with a LinkedIn profile.
It's respect, Hannibal, right? Here's the respect.
Deference, that's what I'm saying.
Here's the respect on why it comes with it, right? Because this is the first time in a long time that this guy has the opportunity to brag on the University of Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to say congratulations.
True.
That's a national championship.
That's true.
For
That's
sure.
true.
Go ahead.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
He turned into Mr. real quick. You see it?
I appreciate that. The greatest university in the world,
quick.
established in 1817.
Oh, my God.
If you look up most major companies in the world, I mean, we're global.
Oh, my God.
We run them all.
You really
a lot of people think that there is some other organizations out there. It's really the only one, University of Michigan.
I'm going to let y'all have it, man. Y'all did your thing, man. You got it. You got it.
It did take a little bit of time.
You got it, though.
It did take a little bit. I mean, the last time was, I guess, when I was there. Oh, I guess I could talk about that, too.
How long do y'all think y'all going to keep it, though?
See, I was on the other city. I was in Ypsilanti at Eastern Michigan when this guy was on the other side. He's in up in
Oh, I kicked it over there, too?
Yeah. See,
had a good
that's
time.
how far we go back.
I don't know how long it's going to – I mean, in all honesty, I'm just happy that we won. But the challenge is now college football is so different.
It's different.
It's so different. People are in the transfer portal, depending upon how many people are coming out of the transfer portal, you might have gotten a scholarship and then you get there and you realize your scholarship is actually gone, right? So there's no allegiance or loyalty on either side of the table. And so it's really a struggle for a lot of the colleges and the coaches to maintain, and even get into any semblance of culture like it was before.
It's true. Very true. The landscape is changing. With NIL transfer portal, coaches is leaving. Everybody leaves with the coach. It's definitely changes the camaraderie of college. College football is changing. I mean, NFL, we're used to people coming and going. Right
people in college are getting paid more than they get paid in the league.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's $1 million contracts
Absolutely.
that some quarterbacks and some wide receivers and other people are going to get in the league, and that are going to get in college. They may not even get to the league. How about this? There are some people that actually want to stay longer in college because they feel as though they're going to make more money. And that's just not just football. That's also talking about the world of gymnastics, talking about women's basketball, softball, baseball. All these different sports are changing it up now because people are getting paid.
Yeah. So do you like it or you don't like it?
I love it. I just wish I was playing.
I know.
Give me my scholarship back. I'll take some of that NIL money. Thank you very much.
Right.
I mean, when we were playing, if you did anything that was outside the realm of football, right? You got dinged.
That's true.
People didn't really think about, or coaches didn't really. I don't know if the word is respect is the right word, but if you weren't focused completely on the game, then people thought you were distracted and you weren't as committed as other people, and that was a place where you might have taken a little bit of a pay cut.
So with you were always actively involved in something, which I admire from afar because you were playing, you were doing your thing on the field, but you also had a major brand off of the field, and this is before things are the way they are now, right? So how did you go about that? How were you received by the organizations you played with when you did that?
Well, for me, I've always sort of kept my mind about me in terms of the things that are happening in the world, just try to remain curious as possible. And, in some cases it was received well, in other cases it wasn't. I mean, I remember when I was playing on the Bengals and I was scared to talk about some of the stuff that I was working on, which was me traveling around the world because I thought the coaches were going to get mad. And all of a sudden Mike Brown comes up to me and he's in the line one day and I'm about to get some food. And he's like, taps him on the shoulder, and he says, in his, rather quiet voice, he's like, my wife makes me watch your TV show every Monday night. I'm like, Mr. Brown, thank you so much, He's like, players back in the day, they used to have a job and they also used to play, right? So it was the first time where I actually felt accepted and I actually felt seen by both sides of the highway, because in Cincinnati, you got the Browns Stadium, Bengals owned by the Browns on one side of this, on the highway, and they had the Scripps Network, which was actually, part of Discovery, which therefore had the Travel Channel on the other side of the highway. So I always got two jobs.
So is that how that went on?
You hear that? I always got two jobs.
Job
I got two jobs,
man.
I got three. I got 4 jobs, man.
You always did, though. I didn't know how you did. I'm like, what is this dude on the Travel Channel? Traveling all over the world? But that's
you got to see the world. And I think that, it's just, there was a gentleman that just passed me, and he does some reporting for the Giants and such. And he's like, I'm about to travel the world and show people all these different, I got my inspiration from your show. That feels good, right? That feels good that everybody now wants to actually use their passport and actually travel, right? And go see and go experience and go see life, right? Adding to that tool belt, Charlie, your good friend, the coach, right? Talked about it all the time, right? I got a chance to spend some moments with him, and I spent some time with him, and that's what he talks about. You got to have a diversity of thought to add to your thinking, so you can add different ingredients to this algorithm we call life.
And
that's the coach.
And what he mentioned when he talks about coach, not NFL coach, we're talking about coach who actually
Bill Campbell.
Bill Campbell is his name. He actually was born and raised in Homestead, my hometown. Did a lot of great things with Columbia. He went out, CEO of Intuit, then he sat on Apple's board for over 20 years. Worked with him a lot over with my foundation, and from there, man, he was a coach of Silicon Valley, and it was interesting because they actually wrote a book about him on people that he coached throughout.
What they call the book, the Trillion Dollar Coach. The Trillion Dollar Coach. Here's a man that coached at Columbia. The team was decent, right? And then all of a sudden he takes those same basic principles of coaching and applies it to all the companies that basically sit, the Magnificent Seven, if you will, right? And I'm sure Zuckerberg had a conversation with him. I'm sure, Tim Cook had a conversation with him. By the way, that's Meta and that's Apple, right? I'm sure like all these different CEOs of these different companies have sat and talked to him. God rest his soul, he's since passed, but his words and his coaching advice still are all throughout the valley.
And it's a heck of a book. If you haven't seen it, Trillion Dollar Coach, go check it out, man. It is awesome for that. And there was a lot of lessons that really for there. And I had the pleasure of working with him for over 20 years, and we've done a lot of great projects together. So we miss him dearly. Rest in peace, Bill. He's my guy for sure. But I know as we kind of tie it all together, you're kind of putting together. You always talked about having your hands in two different things, many different things, always having two jobs. People looked at you, sideways at one point when they talked about you were traveling.
Well, they still look at me sideways.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just given, right?
I'm watching people right now.
But people didn't they didn't expect you to kind of roll out your own fashion line. You have a bow ties, and people are, what's Dahani rocking a bow tie for? And then you became that was a fashion. That was almost like your trademark, essentially. When people saw you, that was your signature trademark, if I could say that. Am I wrong?
Yeah,
by saying that?
My friend Kunta Littlejohn, he said if you want to be somebody, you got to rock a bow tie. And I thought he was crazy. And then I found out that he had cancer. And I went to immediately go put on a bow tie, and I kind of never looked back. And I think at that moment, and he's fine now. I saw him. My friend is, Kunta is like 300 pounds, and then all of a sudden, like I saw him one day, he was like 110. I was like, first of all, there was no Ozempic back in the day. That's funny. You didn't get that joke?
No.
Okay, got it. All right, no, it's fine. It's fast. It's fast. But there, and he told me if you want to be somebody, you got to rock a bow tie. So I went to go put a bow tie on, and it became the basis for a lot of my overall thinking, right, in terms of understanding the value of philanthropy. And so while, starting Bowtie Cause and working with underprivileged youth and education, now I'm able to sort of like understand the value of entrepreneurship. I'm able to understand the value of cause, the value of philanthropy. And, Coach Carr in Michigan, that's what he said. It's not about you, it's about something greater than yourself. And now I spend a lot of time, with Stand Together and Stand Together Foundation, which is working together with Café Momentum. And I don't know, it'll be over on the other side by the FanDuel and the SiriusXM area, but talk about justice-involved youth. Some people have unfortunately been involved in the justice system, the juvenile justice system, and they've had to find their way out. And when they do, who's going to be there? Who's going to be the ones that are going to empower them? Who are going to be the ones that lift them up and allow them to really kind of achieve their goals and break down the barriers of now their unfortunate occurrence to now something that can change. And with Café Momentum, they allow the kids to have an internship, allow really to kind of find their voice, to find, and know that someone believes in them. So I spend a lot of time with them now, with Stand Together, and Players Coalition is involved, but we have a pop-up, so I hope you guys come by a little bit later.
It's awesome. I say that because it's awesome, because 2 years ago I heard about this. I think, you kind of rolling this out, and then they were saying, hey, we're going to come to Pittsburgh. I met the team, and all of a sudden you could just see kind of everything just kind of flowing to the point where now people are excited, supporting, and now here they are on Super Bowl Row, Media Row, and who would ever envision that from a concept to where we are now? And man, hats off to everybody involved, your support as far as what they're doing, because the mission and belief in the mission and vision and what they're trying to accomplish, man, it speaks volumes.
Yeah, well, that's the power. That's the power of Stand Together, right? And when Stand Together gets behind an organization, another one, downtown boxing gym in Detroit, right? When we get behind somebody that stands for something that's greater than themselves, and that we know that the young people are empowered and they're able to believe in themselves, it elevates and it scales quickly, right? And finding those right partners that understand our mission and vision scales quickly, right? And then we're able to come here and talk about it as well. But, a lot of it does go back to my relationship with Lloyd Carr and all the things he taught me at Michigan, and all the things that Bill Campbell taught me along the way, and all the other people that have been my mentors. I mean, that's the game of football. You got to find your next coach so that you can find your next plan, right? So you're always oriented towards north, where you can allow your gifts and talents can be recognized and be understood, so that you can ultimately make a difference in this world.
What role? Obviously, we're on Giving Legends, right? So in our conversations we've had in our time that we've known each other, there's always been around something positive, something around giving back to somebody, some kids, or something I'm doing, something you're doing. We've been connected several times over that way. But where you are now, and you're talking about, giving back, right? And I keep hearing you say your coaches, and you keep talking about things bigger than yourself. You've gotten that stuff from, your coaches and different things, but it absorbed into you. Was it predestined? Is it your DNA? I mean, what made it stick with you?
It's because I'm a middle linebacker, man. It's not about me.
Everybody middle linebacker ain't giving back now. I know a lot of middle linebackers ain't getting that stuff.
Look, to be honest, as a middle linebacker, I was never the fastest. I was never the strongest. I was never the quickest, on the field. But what I was passionate about understanding what everybody else was doing. And if I was able to sort of see through all the things that I knew other people were doing, I could figure out what I was supposed to do, right? And so as a middle linebacker, all I am is but a conduit. And all I am here today is but a conduit towards amazing organizations like Café Momentum, so that other people can learn about it, so I can ultimately see how the world is supposed to unfold in a better way, right? And so I think that, yes, my parents were in the military. Yes, my parents supported different causes. We traveled around the world, and so I've always had that passport to go to different places, and I've always had that sort of the inkling that it's not about me, it's about something greater than myself. But I could trace everything back to sports, and really sitting in the huddle and saying, I want to make sure that you're successful, so that we as a team, Bo Schimbacher talks about all the time, the team can ultimately win.
If I'm a young athlete, young football NFLer coming up now, what would be your advice to me as far as philanthropy, and how could it catapult me or help me, or what advice would you give me about being a current NFL player and looking at philanthropy the way that you look at it?
I think it's always important. I never want to tell someone exactly what to do, but it's always important to sort of comb the landscape and understand where you are and where you've been, right? Are there aspects of which you believe are necessary, of which you could essentially sort of fill that void and become an advocate on behalf of whomever those individuals or those groups or that opportunity actually might be. I think there's always an opportunity to join forces with different people, whether it be someone on your team or an organization like Stand Together. Those are always powerful ways of which, as long as you align on principles, you may not agree with everything, but there's ultimately a long-term plan of which elevates everybody that's involved. And then there's also other people that are out there that you might see the mission and vision of which they are, and you just might want to be a part of it. But ultimately it comes from having a level of curiosity and understanding that, everything in your world, whether you support it or whether you're a part of it, you can have a hand in the development and moving forward of it.
And that's awesome. Seriously, I didn't know what direction that you were going to go off of it, but a lot of different things you had your hands in. You're supportive. I've heard many stories of you supporting other players, colleagues that really appreciated the time that you spent with them and really just felt empowered by moving forward.
I can't play the game without the past, and I can't play the game without the future, right? Isn't the worst all the people? Sometimes I'm sure you've dealt with this. Somebody that was on the team that didn't want to help you out. You were like, why are you even here?
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's always important to make sure that you're always giving back, right? Because that ultimately gives forward, too.
And you mentioned something in your points right now about collaboration. Why is it, and I don't have an answer, maybe you can give, I have some kind of thoughts, right? But us in the locker room, we collaborate on going out to the club and doing this and that. Why don't we collaborate more in philanthropy and giving back the more? Because I think, like you said, one of the keys to having impact in philanthropy is collaboration, right? And I think we miss that sometimes, right? So why do you think we don't do more of collaboration as athletes in philanthropy?
Well, I think on one side, we've always seen ourselves as like single member LLCs. And we've always, and I'll say the collective we, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I'll just say the collective we. I think we've always seen ourselves as the ones that are essentially making it happen. So why would we partner with someone else to help us make it happen? Right? It's a little bit of a change in philosophy, right? Other people have essentially always tried to find a way to work in teams throughout high school and into college, and they're working at different organizations. Like, I'm sleeping under my desk, you're sleeping under your desk, we're out there making great trades, we're joining this company or that company, we're moving together. You can see it here at the Super Bowl, right? There's different people that have worked together for 20, 25 years, moved in and out of different businesses, and then all of a sudden decide to team up again, right? So it's a different type of philosophy than when you were 5, 6 years old and all of a sudden you were the best person, best guy on your team, and then you felt as though you carried everybody else. So it's an untangling of that type of philosophy and moving more towards, look, it doesn't matter how much money you've made, how many years you've played, the amount of legacy and tenure you've had within the league. It's about identifying some of the things that you're mutually interested in and moving forward. It's just a different type of mindset. And I'm always trying to encourage people to find that, right? Look, my nonprofit with my bow tie cause, I was doing that by myself. And then I saw us stand together. I found a better way, right? They thought like I thought, they were collaborating like I wish someone would collaborate with me. They were an organization of like-minded business leaders, right? And so there's a quote that people talk about from, I forgot the TV show, but people want to know what you care about before they care to know you, right? And if you are paying attention to your surroundings, if you're paying attention to those that you're hanging out with, if you start to notice those that are following suit to the things that you're doing, now you can start trying to partner on some of those opportunities of which you might be in philanthropy or maybe in the world of business. But there's nothing wrong with being on both sides of the highway, so to speak.
For sure. And back to Café Momentum, I remember seeing some documentary or something about it, right? And I looked and I was very amazed by the real work that they're doing, right? They're in there really getting real job skills, really getting acclimated back into the real. Tell me, what is the next 10 years look like? In 10 years from now, what is the sustainable impact that you want to create, right? What is it, the end goal, right? Give me a little bit of the vision 10 years from now that you want to.
Look, Café Momentum has been in Dallas, Pittsburgh, and is moving to a couple new places, right? Denver being one of them. In the future, looking at places like Baltimore. There is a problem. One of the biggest problems that we have in our today's society is, how do we decrease, how do we make sure that justice-involved youth don't go back into the system? How do we knock down a lot of the barriers that are preventing them from moving on in life, right? We don't want to be we don't want to be a statistic, you know what I mean? So if we can find ways to tackle that problem through places like Café Momentum and downtown boxing gym, where those young people come to a gym in Detroit, Have you heard Downtown Boxing
Yes,
Gym?
yep.
Right? In Detroit. Those young people, they're training together. We're empowering them. We're believing in them. I mean, all those kids graduate. All the young people that come through Café Momentum, they don't go back into the system. They have found someone that believes in them, just like on the field. If someone believed in you, you had a higher chance of becoming successful. Now, there's a bunch of other people that might have hated on you. There's a bunch of other people that might have said, no, he's not that good, right? But all you need is just one, right? And some people have none. So how do you change the math? How do you change the equation to be around those that actually are believing in you and lifting you up?
Hey, we closed. You talked about opportunities, man. If anybody is interested in connecting with you, where can they go to find you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, D0057, but you can go and find Café Momentum, cafemomentum.org/Super Bowl, or if you're out here on Radio Row or you're wandering around, we'll be right over there by the Sirius XM and the FanDuel tent. And we'll be serving food tomorrow, the 7th, as well as the 8th, from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And so all the young people that are over there are formerly justice involved youth, and those that have come through the program, and those that would love to hear from you, talk to you, understand that you believe in them and support them, right? Because just as much as you all have an amazing podcast here, we want them to be able to hear these stories as well, because we want them to hear the stories of being able to conquer and work through things in order to achieve your own goals.
Absolutely.
And I like what you're doing. We got to go, but I want to talk to you about what does that model look like, the scale model? Like, how do I get that in Atlanta? How do I get that in the Bay Area? Like, so we'll talk about that. But I mean, if
it's on the docket for Atlanta too.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm excited about that. Atlanta is the other place that they're exploring, alongside with Denver, and then that becomes also Baltimore as well. So, but you can go to Stand Together. You can go to Stand Together's website and you can learn about Café Momentum as well, or you can just talk to me.
Absolutely. We'll make it happen, man. Appreciate you, man.
Let's do it.
Not a
Thanks
problem.
for coming
All
on,
right.
man.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you stopping by, joining us.
Appreciate y'all having me.
Not a problem. We appreciate you. Thanks for joining us on another edition of Giving Legends Podcast.
I got to try this stuff.
Find us on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and comment on what inspires you to be a giving legend in your community.